Hello everybody, welcome back to SketchCraft Live. I'm Rob Duenas. It is Monday. Monday. So what am I doing here? I'm finishing up this cover for Big Dog. I already did the thin lines, already did the pencils, the inks, the thin lines. So I gotta do the thicks and the thick and thin and the additional, what do you call that, texturing and stuff. So, just gonna go ahead and get started. Chat room is open. It's a little stuffy in here. It's my AC unit if you hear that. No choice. It's been getting too warm. Even for me. Hello, potato. Take this, we'll duplicate it, merge it, filter, unsharp lines, duplicate. Alright, so we'll select this, create a new layer, and we'll auto path 1.5. And we'll fill and unselect the path. Bum 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 bum. Let Photoshop do the thinking. And then we'll unselect the path. Okay, so now we have some sort of makeshift quick thick and thin, right? Do some variation in line. And then what I like to do is go here and kind of erase stuff out of the eyes and nose areas, inside of the ears. And the stitch lines. Alright, so now we can start outlining. Create a new layer, go to my oil tool. Crank this up to 15. Hey, what up, dude? See if I can get this done before dinner. Yeah, well, it came off the Spider-Man cover from. It's an homage to Spider-Man 300. So rather than giving her webs, I just made the vines. You know. Anytime these guys need something from the 80s or 90s, they seem to call me. You know. I told Tom I'd do 2 or 3 covers a year, so he's cashing in on that agreement. Um, that being said, I took it as an opportunity to practice, the draw with the way I've been doing the little commissions, just scaled up, right? Draw with the red pencil and Copics, and then re-ink it digitally. Well, I don't know how well that's going to scale to like something like Final Fantasy 7, which the characters are smaller. I don't know. Or even the X-Men piece where there's so many characters. Like, I might have no choice but to just do it digitally. I get calls, man. I generally turn down a lot of stuff. I got one now with the publisher. They're like, well, we need it. I'm like, I got other stuff. I'm in the, you know, stuff I'm in between, guys. You know, and I never get to just be that guy who draws pencils. You know, then they maybe find an inker. I have to do everything, so it's like I don't have that much time. Like this one now, I got an email about. They're like, we need this. You know, can you do it? And I'm like, well, when do you need it by? They're like, well, how fast can you do it? I'm like, no, no, no. When do you, like, how about this? I can't do it. That's what I told them. Told them that. I'm like, well, you know what? I can't do it. I'm in between stuff. And like, oh, but what would it take? I'm like, it would take for you to give me a goddamn ETA. When do you need it by? Because if you don't need it for another fucking month, you know, that's one thing. If you need it tomorrow, that's another. Like, I can't. What about Game Cave? I'm getting to it, dude. I got the power prints are part of Game Cave, so I got to finish that before I can devote my nights. It's like everything gets in the way of that. That's why, like, these power prints are the last time I do prints for a long time because I got shit to do. I did not think it was going to take me this fucking long to get everything going. So when you see me working on Battletoads, that's for Game Cave. Even though it's power prints. Chrono Trigger, Game Cave. Final Fantasy VII, Game Cave. Power Rangers, Game Cave. Like, I just went and changed all the games, so the stuff I'm doing goes in there. You know? But I still have electricity bills, dude. You know, like, so sometimes I gotta take side gigs just to make certain that, you know, after all the bills are paid, there's, hey, my dog got hit by a car money in the bank, you know? I ate up most of my savings paying off student loans. But the monthly student loan bill was just gonna balloon in another year to an amount I can't keep up with. So I just paid it out. So Game Cave's already late, you know? Like, nothing I can do about that now. I gotta get the power prints out my way so I can move on with life. And then this stupid shit, you know? The pay for my art supplies and keep the AC running nonsense. That's why I try to keep it pretty real on the Kickstarters. I'm like, hey guys, you know, just if you think you can do this faster, you come over here and show me how. You know, I'm not churning out a bunch of shit. Every one of those prints nets me new skill. It's not like I'm sitting here too like, oh wow, you know, I just fucking knocked that out, just did my thing. Like every one is a different challenge. You know, every one of them is different in its own way. You know, between all the details on the Battletoads with the games and the arcade cabinets, all the characters on the Chrono Trigger. You know, the Final Fantasy sevens are way different. You know. Doing little commissions and then taking those little commission techniques and applying them back into the big print stuff, you know, to kind of like help speed things along, or because I learned this thing here that can be applied there. Yeah, but going on a tangent, bro. It's just me rambling. It's all getting worked on. There's stuff on Game Cave that I haven't even shown, and I won't show until I'm more comfortable with. But there's more surprises in the future. Yeah. It's like the guys with the power prints the other night were like, I put the thing, I was like, yeah, you know, went to this con. People are like, how come you don't go to cons? And I'm like, this is why. They take a lot out. I know, right? Nothing like sitting down to make another 4-year video game on top of the book, right? You never know, Hector. You never know. Thanks, Ben. I sell shoes. Al Bundy. I sell shoes, Peg. Women's shoes. I used to play high school football. Tell you what though, Hector, at least when you're done with it, it stays at work. No. There's always a trade-off, you know? This shit never ends. Like, you gotta be seriously committed to the cause, bro. Like, you gotta be like, yeah, I'm glad it never ends. I like all day, every day, all day, every day, always getting better. You know? Well, hopefully, right? You can get worse. You take on a lot of work and you start just cranking shit out. You can get worse pretty quick, actually. It happens. Never know. A lot of people like I go, oh, I would love to do that until they're here, you know. Then they see me doing it. It's like Brandon, like when I was at his house, not this con, but the con before last, you know. And I'm like the amazing Arizona con. He's like fucking playing Call of Duty. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? He's like, well, you know, you're not like. I'm like, fucking dude, there's shit to do, man. I was just gonna play a game for it. No, no, you got all fucking year to play a game, bro. You know, play a game. I want to play a game. It's called Get the Fuck Rid of Brandon. It's a real fun game. Play a game. Get your ass over here. Oh, I was tired. I went to work. Yeah, I don't give a shit. I just drove 6 fucking hours. Sit the fuck down. You got shit to do. I went to work. Yeah, 'cause I never had a day job. I try to tell him, man. Like, the hardest... See, the army wasn't hard. But I'll tell you what was hard. Getting back to my room and sitting down and practicing construction. Like what I have you do, Hector, you know? Nobody. Like, people would come in my room and they would go, oh, you got an art table. Oh, that's cool. You love to do this. But then, you know, after work, when everyone's drinking and playing fucking Goldeneye and, you know, Goldeneye, right? That's how old I am. Who's in their room drawing boxes, you know, and figures and, like, grid lines? You know? Just ran fucking 10 miles that day, busted down fucking track, ate the shittiest fucking lunch, got back to my room. I'm like, yep, I'm gonna fucking draw construction boxes because I gotta get better at this shit. Then I'm gonna take Batman and redraw him completely as a model sheet in 3D, you know, and rotate the figure and fucking suck at it. There's a lot of there's thousands upon thousands of shitty fucking drawings. I'm trying to tell Brandon, it took all that to get you to this point to fucking play Call of Duty. Nah, I don't think so. No, no, no. Then everyone calling me gay and I mean, like, I mean, look, man, I don't care what your preference is sexually. I'm agnostic. Um, I don't care. But I mean, I got harassed because I wouldn't go to parties and I'd be in my room drawing. You know. Then they started calling me Trenchcoat Mafia after the Columbine thing. The kid sits in his room alone. Doesn't fucking hang out with anybody. You know, watching Mononoke on my DVD player, redrawing frames, figure out how to actually draw a grid, put characters into the grid, make characters emote. So many years, you know, so many just to get to not being, you know, just to where I could go, okay, I can kind of start, but I still wasn't that good. People don't realize, man, like I was really bad for the longest fucking time. Even now, concerning what's in the comic book industry, I have sort of mediocre talent. I know because I'm told this. You know, whatever I can do, I can't do super fast. So, you know, I'm not production friendly, they call that. But I always tell them, well, if those formulas have been working for you, how many more comics you sold this month versus last year? You know, like maybe that churn and burn aspect of comic books, which by the way, they're not really churning and burning. We could just draw comics like manga. I'd have a job tomorrow. You know, it's like they want things fast, but they want things super detailed and fast. So what happens is you end up with a lot of digital painting. You end up with a lot of SketchUp models. I mean, people tell me they love the art in the new Star Wars comics. I fucking hate it. All it is redrawn photos from the style guides. I had all those style guides when I was working in Star Wars t-shirts. I can tell you every production photo and every issue. I can tell you what's a Maya model or SketchUp model that they're just tracing over, you know? That it's probably being made in-house and then handed across all the artists, you know? So like half the fucking panels are just redraws from the movies. They just put new characters in, and those characters were based off production photos. You know, it's like one thing. I get Drew Struzan needing to hit an actor's likeness because it's a advertisement for the movie. But when you got a whole series of books that just don't look creative, you know, well, it looks like Harrison Ford. I'm like, well, great. Until Harrison Ford stops playing them, then what? Like, we need to get out this idea that the comics need to be photo accurate to actors because they're fucking comics. You know, but whatever. It's a fucking comic book. I'd rather have more story than a guy sitting there for 20 hours trying to make sure Harrison Ford looks just like fucking Harrison Ford. Those vines are gonna eat up a little bit of time, aren't they? Uh, you know what is so funny? The Legos. I like the Lego games. I'm looking forward to that Batman Lego movie. I mean, now you got whole Star Trek comics that are just photos of the actors refotoshopped into panel form. I'm like, there you go, just do that. My two favorite Star Wars comics ever. One, the Star Wars manga based off the first episode 4. That is a fucking work of genius art. Two, the Heir to the Empire, the first 3 volumes, or first 3 whatever issues. Adaptation was drawn by this French artist who's a painter. This shit was dope. That's C's story. I need to take that down to like a 8. The trick here, folks, isn't just to outline the whole piece, it's to weight the heaviest part of whatever you're inking, and then adjust those weights according to other things, so things that are more pronounced have more weight. Yeah. Oh, how the Legos like things clumped together. That's what you're talking about. How like in the ocean, like all the Legos will be together. And yeah, well, birds of a feather. You know, there is a. I listened to a whole lecture on this once years ago about how like that in of itself is a pattern. Like even though it appears random to us, like because those things happen, we know that there is a pattern to it. It's just so complex we don't understand it yet. Mhm. And that vine way in the back, I'm not going to add anything to. The circle vine. We'll take that back up to 10. Scheiße. Hey, so is mine. Hey man, I'm trying to get those fucking prints done, dude, as fast as I can, bro. But you well, this is because I have to fucking still pay my. I mean, I can't just use all the shipping money from the Kickstarter to pay. It's ridiculous, dude. You know, it is what it is. I'm not Amazon. Believe me, I if I could just find one way to do it, I would be doing it. You know, the problem is every 6 months, like I don't know, man. Like there's so much other things I can't talk about. Like the things I can't get into are like the things that have gone on with my family and my mother's estate and the infighting and all that shit too. You know, like there's so many other things that I'm like, well, this stuff. Yeah. I mean, I came this close to canceling going to con, but we were gonna lose the tables forever, and I'm like, fuck, you know. And the last time I went to a con, we made $400 total, bro. Like that doesn't cover the table and gas. So it's like I have to then take a bunch of commissions to make sure that that doesn't happen because Brandon's hotel is a certain amount, my hotel is a certain amount. I got the wife, so I can't shit bunk with Brandon. The hotels cost a certain amount. It's like that can't come from Kickstarter funds. I'm not Josh. Where's that coming from? Yeah. I mean, I'm in a situation now where no matter how much I do, it's never enough. I should have a mental break. Most artists would have been like, I give up. Like, no, I'll just figure it out. You know? What it really means is, like, the version of me that's been existing for the last 10 years is going away. Like, I had to point out to my wife, I'm like, look at, like, how everything's changed. Look how it's changing, but it's also becoming, like, predictable. Like, it's orderly now. Like, here's how I color with markers. Here's how the markers get done. Here's the digital art. Here's how this is getting done. It's not changing like it used to be. Every project was 100% different. I didn't know how to, like, 1 minute I'm doing like gritty pencil sketches, and then I gotta go do Richie Rich. And, I didn't understand my tools, like how to draw digitally this way or how to color or basic lighting. I was always winging it. I had to sit down and actually learn how to do that. Then the watercolor stuff. Then packing and shipping prints. You know. Then the podcast. Like right now, I mean, if I cut out all the podcasts and all the streaming, probably more shit would get done. But then who would know about me? How would you? How would Hector have found out about SketchCraft? If it wasn't for this stuff, like technically, dude, full time. When you think about full time, I've only been doing this about a year. You know, it takes any business at least. I mean, that's why one has a 5-year plan, right? So, lesson learned. Pecking order, you know. The thing about the prints that takes a while, bro, is it's an insane amount of line work. Like, I'd be willing to sell people if they would like the roughie, they can have the prints now. You know. This is why artists paint digitally. Like, characters just become little blotches with glows and lighting built around them. Because to draw that many characters, I mean, when I was a kid, there was only like a few people who could do it. A Jim Lee, an Art Adams, George Perez, you know, Jeff Darrow. I mean, it took 20 plus hours just to do the lines on Chrono Trigger. You know. Just on Chrono Trigger. So if I miss your birthday, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. You know? Like, it's not that's not what I didn't, you know, I can't guarantee shipments by people's birthdays. That's why I don't do Christmas, like, get this by Christmas, I'll get it out. Like, I don't do that stuff, you know? My focus is get better, but the quality can't dip. So if I can't get a little better somewhere, maybe I get a little faster, but the quality can't dip. It can't. Like, there's some stuff is just gonna be really hard. And if I make a mistake and take too much on, then that I have to finish it, but then learn from that lesson. Like, okay, that's a limitation. You know, and I can't be afraid of it. You can't go, well, that's it. I'm never doing that again because that took too long. No, 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 no. You know, just gotta be, you know, okay. So that I get. You know, this, whatever. You know. You say you draw the X-Men, and then, like, you know, you don't put Nightcrawler in there because there's 9 characters, and people go, you forgot Nightcrawler. You're like, I can't draw 50 fucking characters. Like, so there's one with 50 characters. There you go. Well, like, how long is it gonna take? Like, I don't know. Motherfucker. You know, I do find it humorous. It is hilarious. It's like, huh, interesting. You know, like, these stretch goals really weren't there to get a bunch of quick prints out. They're there to push my limits. So I had an estimation. I figured it might take me till June. It's taking much longer. You know, probably be close to December by the time everything's done. You know, and then people in the game cave thing are like, well, how come this is taking 3 years? I'm like, look, because it's taking 3 fucking years, guys. You know? It's taken me 3 years to figure out how to do this, how to do it accurately, you know, and how to set up my life so I don't take on a bunch of other shit. But sometimes I have to take some things on, dude. Like, I've tried not working with publishers. Let me tell you what happens. You know, you get to a con and you end up on the bottom of the fucking list for a table because you aren't with one publisher. Or check this one out, right? Here's some shit I don't talk about very often. You go, but Rob, there's plenty of artists there that they aren't with publishers. Like, they're like indie guys. Right. So here's where I end up in. I am too good, I've been told this, to be an indie artist, but not popular enough because I'm not published enough. You see how that goes? So I'm like in this fucking like nether sphere, right? This weird thing, you know, where that's why I changed it to SketchCraft. I don't put my name on stuff. I put SketchCraft because people seem to remember that easier. So when I go to con, they go, SketchCraft, I've heard of that, you know? If I say Rob Duenas, no one's heard of it. No, don't. My name's, it's just no one's going to remember that name. It's the opposite of the Eminem song. Or, no, not Eminem. A dude from fucking Linkin Park when he did that album. Fort Minor, right? Fort Minor. The opposite of that. I have plenty of shit to do, you know. And then every 6 months comes around, and we end up in a situation in California where they hike the rent up. And then my wife's like, it might be easier, for you to take a side job just so we don't have to struggle so much while we're here in California. I'm like, can we get out of California? Like I'm trying everything I can to get the fuck out. But she has a career, and it's a whole thing, man. Like, these are things I just do not bring up in the Kickstarter backers because, who wants to read it? Everyone's life is fucking tough. I don't have children, so there's that. I don't have student loans, so there's that. I have to start looking at what is going right. But the minute I draw one commission, one guy's like, what about power prints? And I go draw power prints, and what about Game Cave? I go draw Game Cave, what about commissions? You just laugh. It's like, well, I'm doing all of them, guys. Name an artist who's... Honestly, name an artist who's doing as much as me and gets no credit. Someone posted on my Instagram. They took it down because I guess they thought it was bad, but I thought it was funny. They posted they reblogged me, when I did the Battletoads lines, and they're like, it's so sad that this guy puts this much effort in and no one cares. I was like, yeah, there you go. But so what? I'm drawing. Like, there's more important things in the world than when a guy sits around and draws, And there's more important artists. I get it. I don't draw, like, photorealistic anime chicks that have light gleaming out their fucking ears and, you can see their nips. I get all that. I get what I'm not doing. So if you want to be recognized and famous for the things that you enjoy doing, that's harder. But when I was working with Josh, he'd always go, you just fucking get it done, dude. Like, remember when I did that Link piece? And the sword was wrong. Because when I drew it, I had this idea of this perspective, and when I went to go draw, it just didn't work out. So the sword looked curved, the Master Sword. And I was like, I gotta redraw that. And Josh was like, fucking, just needs to get out, man. We got prints, people are waiting, And I'm like, alright, just get it out. And then the minute I post it, I get 15 posts like within an hour about like how the sword's wrong. And I'm like, I can't deal with that. I can't be in a world where the sword is wrong. So I have to sit down and I fixed it. And I caught all kinds of shit. But you do rise. You do like, there is a way. I mean, I'm looking at what I'm doing now, and I couldn't do all of this the way I'm doing it a year ago. I just was out of, practice. You take that, I get that day job, and then you know what happens? I'm making good money, but I'm not drawing. I'm not creating. Things end up taking just as long in the wrong ways, and they don't look as good, and it's a struggle. And then I hate like everything I'm doing. So there's a balance, there's the equivalent exchange, right? The universe is going to take something from you. If it's going to give you an opportunity to do something you like, it's going to take something from you in return. And if artists don't admit that, then they're just like fooling you. Because no artist wants to admit, I mean, very few want to admit, especially the pros, that anything's a struggle, They can get in trouble with their publishers if they complain, half of them. I've been told, don't ever complain about shit. Like, I was like, well, pay me enough to not complain. I mean, these one publishers disappeared for 9 months, bro. And then today they're like, oh, we need you on this thing. I'm like, you've been gone for 9 months. I actually took other work. Can you believe it? And then you tell them it's Kickstarter, and they go, well, that shit doesn't matter. That's the truth. I'm like, tell that to them. They're the ones who paid me. I don't think you've paid me that. What those backers pay me, you guys have never paid me. So they matter. You know? They don't matter. Okay. You know? Every one of these Kickstarters has cost me a job. The one that I canceled cost me my entire career in t-shirts. I'm blacklisted. Can't get a job anymore because of that Kickstarter. Anyone that has a Marvel license, you know? Marvel finds out that I'm working there and I get let go. You can only get let go from a job so many times before people are like, why do people keep letting you go? And I'm like, whatever. You know, we heard you stole stuff. I didn't steal anything. I drew some pictures. Yeah, that's what they like to throw around too. I stole stuff. It's an evil little company, man. You know? But if my wife said we were going to starve and had to pay rent, and Marvel said, hey, will you draw this for money? I'd have no choice. You know, I don't have pride. You know? I also don't have any love. Like, so, you know, I'm not going to break myself. Once I got a choice, I don't go, oh my God, you know? Tom is a friend. This cover is because Tom is a friend of mine. You know, I consider him a friend. When he comes into town, we get dinner and just shoot the shit for like 3 or 4 hours, you know? Tom let me sell prints at his booth for years before he was with Aspen. Never once complained about it. One time I made more at a con than Tom. You know? So Tom says he has a vision for his future and it's Kickstarter and he would like if I help out, then, you know, hey guys, gonna need a few days off to go do this. By the way, I think with these harder prints, having some time off helps. With Game Cave, taking it so long has actually helped. You know, like I've really been able to strengthen character, I mean, even more so with Volume 2, like being able to strengthen character personalities, have the time to step back, you know. But like, something like this would have taken me, just this cover alone would have taken me a week to do. 7 years ago. Doesn't take that long now. With Game Cave, it won't take me 3 years to make a book. I'll be making 2 books a year within the next 5 years, you know? I already know, like, it's just how I work. So long as I stay healthy, you know? I can't hit those kinds of, like, marks sitting in a studio being told how to shortchange it or bullshit all day, you know? Or being told, draw this way, you know? I'll draw any fucking way I want now. Like, I'm not doing it. Alright, save. We're about an hour in. Yeah, I don't see a lot of other artists. I mean, believe me, I talk to them. They're not being told draw this way, draw that way. You know, it's because I can, and I've allowed myself in the past to be that guy to do it. You know, that it's what happens. Careful what you're good at, or what people know you're good at. You could end up. You could very easily end up being stuck doing that forever, and then get pigeonholed. You know, like I would love, dude. Right now, I'll tell you, man. You know, if they said, Rob, I want to draw an issue of, you know, Rick and Morty or Invader Zim, you know, I might actually take that on because I enjoy cartooning. You wouldn't. I mean, most people would go, but like, I mean, yeah, but I can draw some pretty violent little simple cartoons too, you know. But they don't really think of me that way, you know. So at some point, I'll have to make something that is a violent little cartoon, you know, just so I can be like, yeah, I did that too, you know. I won't just keep making the same thing over and over again. Like, oh, I did that JRPG Game Cave thing, then I'm going to do a JRPG superhero thing and a JRPG robot thing, you know. I can take my ability to do different styles and actually do different genres. But this process has to become very automated, you know. Like the core process is exactly the same. And matter of fact, it needs to work so efficiently that I can teach it to you all. Long as you, when I see it now on Instagram, people are following it like, oh wow, like they can do this. And when people with at entry level skill can do it, then you know it works. It's not just bullshit. You know. I mean, thick and thin in an hour. From that to that. I mean, you know. All right. The thing about these eyes are that I don't really like to draw the eyes because I paint them. But if I don't add eyes in the black and white, people freak out. Game catch. Super catch for it. Maybe that might be a little thing sometime. I don't know. The monsters they don't really fight. They're lazy. I don't know. First things first, you know. I mean, shit, my studio. You guys realize this? I've had this studio, this room, for 12 years. I just now have shelves. I just have never. I mean, I didn't have shelves. I got shelves now. It's crazy. You know? And I know what to put on the shelves, not just random shit. Like this kind of paper goes here, that kind of paper goes there. All right, so how do I want to do this? Oh, sweet, Dominic. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. we'll start texturing. Or weathering, as I call it. You know, just surface stuff. Later, dude. Anytime, Hector. Like when I get to the X-Men pieces, I probably won't do any thick and thin on them. They'll all just be, you know, cell lines because there's so many characters. I'll be there fucking for 10 years. her hair is going to be a little tedious. Probably I'm spending an hour just on this. Not unheard of. It's just been about a month since it's been regular. Regular. My sleep's been screwed up since Vega's gone. And then getting sick. One, two, three. What am I looking for when I'm trying to make each line thicker? Weight. I'm trying to weight the objects. So a little heavier as a weight down, right? Or if I want them to seem bulkier. So I want her to kind of have a little bit more weight on the bottom, so her rump and her hind legs have a little bit more weight to them, right? Trick is to do it slow, kind of like really think about it, get it worked out, and then ramp up speed and efficiency as you become more comfortable with that process. That you're looking for those things. You're not trying to figure it out. And some of these lines, I'm just trying to separate them from some of the other objects. No, I found that it's largely irrelevant when it comes to lighting and shadow because once it goes to color, that doesn't matter. You know, like once it's colored, like case in point, here's the Chrono Trigger's line arts, right? So I'm like weighting things, right? If I really wanted to go where the light was, I mean, what does it matter? Because once it gets colored, you know, the lighting and color will take care of that. And even then, you can fake your way through most of it, see, like with the pencils, with those right there. So I've seen people put a lot of work into like trying to light with the black and whites, and then when a colorist gets a hold of it, you can't see any of that. So there's no point. However, like weathering on the boots, you know, adds a nice hand-drawn quality to it that you can't just get by throwing a texture on there. You know. I won't do too much of this little hat shading, but on the vines and like her little clothing, it helps give it a little bit more texture. Can I unsharp mask it 3 times and merge into the other lines? So I can kind of see as I go. Yeah, it's a select, or sorry, filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. So default's 50%. It's a way of sharpening that is really good. Most people don't know how to use it because it's called unsharp. It's an old Photoshop thing, but it's what gives the lines their crispiness, so they don't look all blurred out. I usually do it 3 or 4 times, depending on what I need it, how strong I want the lines aliased. Yeah, I got all sorts of little tips like that in the art tips playlist. Will I be coloring this? Oh yeah. It's going to Brandon tonight to get flats so I can color it between tomorrow and Wednesday. Anyway, sharp. 1, 2, 3. Merge down. New layer. Let me think about this for a second. So, I get the plushies done next. One, two, three. Merge down. New layer. the 2-hour mark. Getting there, almost there. See, a lot of extra things I don't have to draw, like all the leaves coming off these vines and extra foliage and stuff like that. I'll just paint in, so there's no point. I think I'm done. Look at it for a second. How long did that take? 2.5 hours. Let's see here. We have the jungle. Now you get the idea, right? It'll need to be masked in properly, but... And then I'll paint inside that circle thing when the flats are done. I'll paint in forest stuff. I'll just paint it in. No need to draw that stuff. Plus I'll add all the extra viney leaves and shit and floral stuff I'll put up here. Alrighty. Good enough. Good enough. Good enough for you. It's 1 second. Alright, everybody. That's that. So, I got dinner and stuff to do. I'll be back on tonight with more stuff to do. More stuff to do. More stuff to do tonight. I gotta flip a coin and see what it's gonna be. So, be back on in a few. Peace.